Good afternoon. Welcome to Town Talk, the official podcast of the town of Stephenville, where community conversations happen. I'm Marilee Joy-Castillo, communications manager at the town, and this podcast takes place in the chamber of Town Hall, where we share updates, ideas, information about what's happening in our community. Joining me today is Clyde Russell, and he is the district deputy for the Bay St. George area for the Knights of Columbus. So welcome, Clyde.
Well, thank you very much, Marilee, and thanks for the opportunity to be here today and speak on the Knights of Columbus and our good works.
For sure. And I know there's a few hats you wear. So why don't you tell us a bit about your position within the Knights of Columbus organization?
Okay. We have, across the province, we have an organization of district deputies, which normally handle a region, if we could call it that. And my area is the Bay St. George area. And so I have three councils here in Stephenville Crossing, and Codroy. So I'm the go-to guy for the Grand Knights from those councils and supervisor, I guess you could say. And that's how it's organized.
Right. And you also have a position within the fourth degree Knights.
Yes, I do.
Columbus
I'm also
Assembly.
the faithful navigator, or the leader, I guess you could call it, of our fourth degree assembly here in Stephenville.
Excellent. So why don't we start off where you tell us a bit about the Knights of Columbus and what they do here in Stephenville and about the organization.
Okay. Well, the Knights of Columbus in the big picture is an organization that spreads pretty well across the world. We have councils in many countries. I think there are somewhere over 2 million members worldwide. And the supreme headquarters is in the United States, in New Haven, Connecticut. And we're basically founded on the principles of charity, unity, fraternity, and patriotism. And those are the four basic founding principles of knighthood. And it's a Catholic organization, so anybody who is 18 years of age and a practical Catholic gentleman is eligible to join. And the Knights are basically organized in councils. So a council would be connected to a parish or a church or several smaller churches, and that's how it's organized and set up. And so here we have, for example, the Knights of Columbus in Stephenville. The council has members all out across the Port-au-Port Peninsula and in different other small towns around the region. And, we have Knights that live all across Canada, basically, some in Alberta working away and that sort of thing. So it's a pretty big organization. There are only so many active members that are, truly do the heavy work, the heavy lifting on a day-to-day basis. But we do have a widespread network of Knights out there that do a lot of things behind the scenes, selling tickets and all those sorts of things. And all that goes to support our charitable work in our parish and in our community. So we support our parish and we support the community as well.
Excellent. And for those who might not know, what's the difference between a regular council and the fourth degree assembly?
Well, the fourth degree assembly is based on the patriotic degree. So usually it'll be members that are from a council who want to go take the next step. So they have to go through a different indoctrination process, exemplification, and basically our focus is mainly on patriotic programs like November the 11th, Memorial Day, this 9/11 service that we have coming up, and things like that. So we're pretty well focused in that area, where the council is more broadly focused, in charity, unity, and fraternity type programs. They have a lot more programs that they do than the fourth degree. The fourth degree, I would mention as well, is also the uniformed arm, I guess, of the Knights of Columbus. And they have a distinct uniform, usually that's worn at funerals or high-profile occasions in the church, etc.
I see. And I guess with the regular council here, the regular Knights of Columbus Council, as you mentioned, you do a lot of charity work and you give a lot of donations and support the community and support different things happening in the community. So how, I guess, are you raising your funds? I know you guys have the Toonie Toss. I know there's a bingo. Why don't we talk a bit about how you guys raise the funds and distribute them?
Usually we have, we got kind of three, I would say, big fundraisers that supports all our charities. And that's the Toonie Toss, as you already mentioned, the bingo, the weekly bingo, which we share with the parish. We have a split with them. And we also have membership dues and 50-50 tickets and so on that the Newfoundland and Labrador State Council gives us. So they give us so many tickets, we sell them, and we get a share of the profit. And it's usually tickets come out in the fall and then later on in the winter. So that's really where most of our money comes from. And with that money, we're able to support a wide range of programs and donations. So the council probably runs somewhere between 30 to 40 programs. And I would only be guessing, but I would say we're in, 50 to 60 donations. Some of them are annual, the ones that we always give, like the Bay St. George Sick Children's Foundation as an example. And some come up from time to time. For like, we just had a request from our state council for funds to support the firefighting efforts down in eastern Newfoundland. One of our councils down there was running an operation where they were housing firefighters from across the province, and I believe across Canada, and some from other parts of the world, I think. So we provided funds to support that effort and the recovery effort for those poor people that lost their homes and so on.
That's right. And like you say, you don't know, you have your regular organizations that you can commit to, and you know that every year there's going to be a donation. But then when something like a natural disaster happens, you have no way to prepare for that. Yeah,
we try to be there and do what we can. And in those instances, we had I can remember the hurricane in Port aux Basques. We were instrumental in that. The state council went down there and I think donated somewhere around $40,000 or $50,000.
Wow!
Plus, and that was money that was donated from all the councils across the province to help those people out. I think we gave that money to the Salvation Army or the Red Cross. I'm not sure. I think the Red Cross. Yeah. And they took care of the funds. But yeah, anytime there's that kind of a thing, COVID is another example where we basically, the food bank here in town shut down. So the Knights of Columbus took over food bank distribution in the town of Stephenville for a period of, I think, 16 weeks during the height of COVID, when there was a lot of unknowns and people really didn't know what was going on, but they needed the services of the food bank. So we took that over and we ran it.
That's right. And of course, I know you've also been involved with the community cafes.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
So why don't we touch on that?
Yeah, the community cafe was, I don't know how many years now we've been doing it. Back when I was a Grand Knight, I'd say it's got to be 7 or 8 years now. And I think at the time there was only one, I believe it might have been the Lions Club had one community cafe, and then we got involved, and then it expanded to 4 organizations. I think every Thursday of the month we had a community cafe across town, and it's a great program, one of our best, I think, in that people from all walks of life come in to the building and to share a meal and socialize, and it's great to see. And for some people, it's the highlight of their week. It's a great time to come out and meet their friends, have a game of crib or a few laughs, and
sometimes there's music, and
sometimes we got music.
Yeah, so
sometimes not.
Exactly. And so, it's a great event that is continuous throughout, even throughout the summer. I know it's been continuing. At one time, there was talks, I guess, about taking a break in the summer months, but I have seen it also continuing throughout the summer.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think this year we took a break, but I think the cafe is coming back here in 2 weeks' time. I think it's starting up again. So
excellent. So what does it mean to you personally being involved with the Knights of Columbus?
I don't know. I just think it gives me a lot of personal satisfaction to help people in need. Some people need it, some people not so much, but overall, I think the Knights of Columbus is a force for good in the world and in our community. And I'm kind of proud to be part of that. And I guess one of the reasons I joined was because my dad was a knight and my grandfather was one of the founding members of the council here. So I didn't know a whole lot about it until I got involved. I joined the Knights of Columbus in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia before I retired from the military, and liked it. Right away. I just liked the feeling of charitable work and doing good things in my community. So when I came home, I had a strong inkling, I guess, or urge to give back and to help my community as much as I could. And the Knights is a perfect way to do that.
So if somebody is listening and they're thinking, this is an organization that I would like to be involved with, how do somebody go about getting, I guess, recruited for the Knights of Columbus?
Well, we recruit people mainly one-on-one. I guess is the best way to describe it. A lot of people we get in church, some people at social events, and some people we get during our programs like Community Café or something like that. People will come up and say, how do I get involved in the Knights of Columbus? And basically, as I said earlier, if you're an 18-year-old practical Catholic, you're eligible to join the Knights of Columbus. And you basically go through an exemplification, a small ceremony, about 40 minutes or so. Family can attend, and a lot of times they do. And then after that, you would join your council and start work from there.
Excellent. And I know we touched on the Toonie Toss a little bit earlier. Why don't we get a little bit more? I know like bingo has certainly been something that's been ongoing for many, many years. And with regards to the Toonie Toss, that's kind of been a new venture, fairly new, in the last few years. Why don't we talk a bit about how people can, I guess, support that?
Sure. Well, just a little bit of background on the Toonie Toss. We started the Toonie Toss because basically it was during COVID and because our bingo was shut down and we had no way to make money to support the food bank and other charities as well. So we came up with the idea to run the Toonie Toss. It took a bit of work to get it set up, but once we got it set up, it basically runs itself. So we have a wonderful group of volunteers that come out every Monday morning bright and early to count the toonies and get everything ready for Monday night to do the draw. If anybody wants to get involved and play in the Toonie Toss, all you have to do is go to one of the businesses that has the blue boxes with the Knights of Columbus stickers in them. And there's another lottery around town. I'm not supposed to mention that, but you'll see them there beside ours sometimes. But we are the blue boxes with the Knights of Columbus stickers, and usually in those stores they'll have the registration cards. And the registration cards can be picked up, filled out. All you need really is your name and phone number, and the card can be dropped in the box along with your toonie and the sticker. Each card has a serial number, and that is your number to play every week to hopefully win some money.
That's right.
And
I guess one of the things to clear up here, just put one toonie in with your number on it.
Yeah, one toonie per number per week. So, if you put in 4 toonies with the same number, it's only going to get recorded once.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
You still only have one ball in that drum.
That's right. You have one ball and one drum.
And I know that you've been pretty much the face of the Toonie Toss, and we watch it, of course, every Monday evening. And what I'm sure there has, because it looks like you guys have fun there. It looks like you have fun. So there must be something, a memory that's jumping out there. If you had to think of
I don't know, like we haven't had like a whole bunch of catastrophes, but I think one of our members almost fell in the drum one night. So I think was probably the worst thing that happened.
Yeah.
But overall, it's very well organized. Like Bob Miller has done a great job setting it all up, and he's the guy that built the drum, like beautiful drum. And when we started off, we tried to use the old drum that we had for the Chase the Ace, and we had some problems with that, so we had to use a garbage bag for the first couple of weeks until we got our own drum built. But
You'd
anyway,
never get away with that now.
Yeah, we never get away with it now. But
Yeah.
anyway, it worked out pretty good.
It did for sure. And I know also you mentioned about the 9/11 coming up, and the Knights of Columbus do have a special ecumenical service that is planned for that night, for Thursday,
Yes, we do.
September the 11th. So I know I've seen the invite, and you're asking for a lot of the first responders and veterans and uniformed services to come out and tell us why this event is so important.
Well, it's kind of important to me, I guess, personally, because I was involved in some of the events of 9/11 and the conflicts that followed. So during that day, I think everybody remembers where they were. And I think it touched a lot of people across Canada, because we had, even in this community right here, we had airplanes landing at our airport, and people, being welcomed into our town on 9/11. So I think it's and it has certain significance even here in the town of Stephenville for that reason. And we, shouldn't lose sight of the fact as well that of the over 2,000 people who were killed that day, there were over 400 firefighters and police officers among that number who were doing their duty and as first responders in the face of that crisis. And, as well, we had 24 Canadians that died in the Twin Towers. And I just think it's, for the fourth degree, where our principle is patriotism. It's a perfect example of an event that we can commemorate on an ongoing basis, and at the same time, not just to honor and pray for the victims and their families, but also to recognize our own first responders that we have in our community, firefighters, paramedics, police officers, and to recognize them and pray for them as well. So that's kind of like why we set it up.
That's right. And part of this service, part of being an ecumenical service, is the fact that it doesn't matter what religion you are.
Yeah, that is true. This year is the first time that we have gone to, basically an all faith or interfaith service. And in the past, we had a mass. I think this is year number 4 that we're holding this event. But I think we just needed to make the open the door broader and welcome everybody into that service. So it's an ecumenical service, as you said, taking place Thursday. As my letter said, Wednesday. I don't know how that happened, but it is Thursday,
Yes.
the 11th of September. So everyone is welcome. So please come out.
And it's taking place at St. Stephen's Parish
Church at 7 p.m.
That's right. And what can people expect at the service? Like, what can somebody from the public who may want to attend, what can they expect?
Well, there'll be a number of readings, some introductions. We'll have some beautiful music by the St. Stephen's Choir and others. We've got a soloist lined up. So I think the readings will be very fitting for the occasion. And we'll also be doing a special recognition of our own first responders at that service. So I think there'll be something there for everyone.
That's right. And following the service at St. Stephen's Parish, there will be a little get-together, a little social across at the Santa Maria Club as well.
Yeah, definitely. This year, as we've done in years past, we're going to be having a social event, basically finger food and drinks over at the Santa Maria Club. So all are welcome again. And great time to meet old friends, tell some stories, and, talk about the service, I guess, or whatever. And again, everyone is welcome. So please take advantage of that.
That's right. And I know you probably don't know this one off the top of your head, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway and ask. You've mentioned that you've been involved for quite a number of years with the Knights of Columbus, starting out over in Dartmouth, and then when you moved over to this area. What's the longest serving member, do you think, here in Stephenville? Do you have any idea?
Well, I think I know who it is,
Okay.
but I can't tell you how long he's been served. I I think it's Mr. Roy White, and I believe Roy came out last spring, and I believe he I can't remember. I'd only be guessing, but he had finished something like, I don't know, 60 or 70 years of service or something like that.
Wow.
He is by far the longest
Serving
member here.
Wow, that's amazing. And what would you have to say if there was somebody out there in the community? Any final words about the Knights of Columbus organization, or anything that we might not have talked about here today that you want to touch on or tell us about?
No, I don't think, not really. Again, I would say the Knights of Columbus is a very challenging but very rewarding organization, and there's a lot of good people in there doing a lot of good things for our church, our parish, and our community. I think over the years we have done a huge amount of support, I think, for the community at large, and not just the Catholic Church in particular. So no, I would encourage any young man, Catholic, who would like to join an organization like this to do so, and I think you would find it to be an enriching, rewarding career.
And what type of commitment does it take? I know you mentioned you have volunteers for the Toonie Toss and for the bingo. What type of commitment does it take for a person who wants to be involved?
Well, the commitment ranges from those who do a lot to those who don't do so much, but it doesn't matter, because the way we see it, you can do as much as you can when you can. So every little bit counts, every little bit matters. And as I say, some people all they do is sell tickets, but it's all bills. It's all a brick in the wall, I guess, to building the organization to what it is today. And so that's the way we treat it. There's no pressure on anybody to do anything you don't have time to do, and a lot of times we recognize that, working men with families don't have a whole lot of time to spare.
That's
So
right.
us old retired guys, we got a lot more time to devote to Knights of Columbus types of activities. So that's well recognized.
That's right. And there's so many different events. And like you say, there could be ticket sales, there could be the bingo, there could be the Toonie Toss, there could be Community Café, there could be
Lots of things to get
something.
involved in across the board, for sure.
Right. So no pressure, just, you can find a way to make it work
Yeah.
for whatever amount of time you have to give.
Yeah. You put it very well.
Excellent. I just want to thank you so much for coming in here today and telling us a little bit more information about the Knights of Columbus and about the Fourth Degree Assembly, and of course the upcoming ceremony that will be taking place at St. Stephen's Parish on Thursday, September the 11th. And thank you so much for coming in. Any final words?
No, thank you very much, Marilee, for the opportunity to be here and speak today on your podcast. I really appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes this episode of Town Talk. Thank you very much to Clyde Russell, the District Deputy for the Bay St. George area for the Knights of Columbus, for coming in and joining us here in the chamber. That's going to wrap up this episode of Town Talk. And thanks for listening, and stay tuned next week. We'll be talking to some of the upcoming candidates in the municipal election. So have a great day.